Hi crafters, and welcome to Creative Moments by G. I'm G and it is Technique Tuesday. We are going to be talking about embossing folders and the difference between embossing and debossing and what you can do with your embossing folders to add some more value to them. Yes, you can just put your cardstock in and emboss, but you can also do some really interesting things with your ink pads. So let's head down to the crafting table and let's get busy. Okay, let me show you the difference between embossing and debossing. This is embossing. You can see that your image is raised, and debossing is when you use the other side and your image is pressed into your mat. So we have embossing and debossing. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do something really fun with our ink pads. And let me show you the difference when you decide to rake your embossing folders. Now, what's so neat about Stampin' Up! Is that they put their logo right here. So when you put your paper in it, you know that this side will be embossed, because what happens is it pushes from the back to raise your image. So when you do this really fun technique that I'm going to show you, if you want to color the background like this and leave the raised part to be white, you are going to rake this top part of your embossing folder. Now let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, we are going to take the front of our embossing folder and we are going to take an ink pad. Now I am taking Poppy Parade. I'm going to put down a piece of paper because I don't want to get ink on my table. I'm using the front of my embossing folder. Now, when you decide to rake and use your ink pad, you want to go ahead and open it up and then flip it like this, because if you don't and you rake, it's going to be pulled open like that. You don't want that. So once you close it, go ahead and just flip it like this. Now let's go ahead and just rake the front part of our embossing folder. And remember, this is water-based, so it washes right off. You don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and put our paper down and run it through the embossing machine. Now, when you take this out, because we raked the front of it, you can see that your image is white and your background is the part that picked up all the color that you raked. Look how beautiful that is. Now, let's go ahead and do it just the opposite way. Let's go ahead and rake this back side and then run it through again. So I'm just going to take my ink pad once again, and I'm going to rake the back side of it. I'm going to open up my ink pad, and then I'm going to flip it, and now I'm just going to rake the back side. Going to add my paper. Going to close it and run it through the embossing machine. Now, when I take this out, you can tell that this time it added the color to the actual image. Now, look at the difference. This is debossed and this is embossed. The images are raised on this one and we colored the background. This one is debossed. The image is pressed into the paper and that is what got colored. So depending on how you want to use your embossing folder, you can rake it on the embossed side for the background or rake on the debossed side so that you can see the image actually picks up the color. Which is your favorite? Which do you prefer, the embossed or the debossed raking? Take a moment and let me know below. Now that we have created these beautiful mats, I'm going to take this embossed mat and I'm going to turn it into a beautiful card. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Now let me show you the card that we are going to create. Look at this cute card. I'll talk more about it in just a moment. But let's go ahead and get this cut the size that we need. Now I want to remind you, all the measurements will be listed over on creativemomentsbyg.com. So you can head over there and click on my blog and you will find those measurements and supplies. But the first thing we need to cut is the top mat, and this is going to be the top mat. So I am going to cut 3 by 3 3/4. So we need to cut 3, and I want to kind of center this right here. So this is about 4 1/4. I need to cut off quite a bit. So I'm just going to start cutting so that I can center this beautiful flower. Okay, now we also need to cut a mat that goes behind this. And I've decided just to pick up a little bit of this Lost Lagoon DSP. And that is 3 1/4 by 4. Now it's just going to give it just a little bit of color. Look at that. Just to kind of pep it up just a little bit. Now let's go ahead and look at the card that we need. We need a top fold card, which is 4 1/4 by 11. And on this front panel, we're going to go ahead and cut it at 2. Now we need to have a strip for this side right here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just pull in this color right here. And I'm going to run this through the embossing folder. And this side strip needs to be 1 1/2 by 3 3/4. So let's see if we have that size. 1 1/2 by 3 3/4. And then our mat that goes behind it needs to be 1 3/4 by 4. So it's going to fit right on top. Just like this, but let's go ahead and emboss this. Now I want to show you another tip. When you are embossing, to really get a good impression, you can take your spritzer and you can spritz it with water. Now I'm going to spritz it off screen so I don't get water everywhere. But you can see the water on it, and I've spritzed it. I kind of gave it a good spritzing, and now I'm going to run that through the embossing folder. And look at that. So pretty. Now I'm just going to glue that down. Going to add this one to our DSP. And now we're going to add this to the front of our card. And look how pretty that is looking. I love this card design. It is so quick. We just cut some white paper to go right here on the inside. This gives you plenty of room to write your sentiment. And now we're just adding some images to the front. Now we use the essential dies to cut this out. We cut out 2 rectangles with it, and then it also has some flags that you can cut out. So we are going to stamp our message right here, and then we're going to add it to the front of our card. But I just wanted to see which color I like the best. Now I think I like the Poppy Parade. So let's go ahead and stamp our message. And here are the essential dies that we used. This is a wonderful die set. And look at this beautiful sentiment. Isn't that beautiful? I love those fonts. That comes from Softly Sophisticated, and this is available January 4th in the new mini catalog by Stampin' Up. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this up on some dimensionals. And I'm just going to stick this right on the back. Okay. Going to bring in our card. We're adding this, so make sure that if you add it on dimensionals, you only put dimensionals right here because you only want it on this half. And I'm going to go ahead and add it on dimensionals. Let's just add a few little gems. And look at this beautiful mat right here. Now remember, this is the embossed side, and we raked so that the background would be colored, would be inked. Look how pretty that is. We embossed this over here just to give it some added interest. Now look at that. Here is the other card that I showed you. We went ahead, now this time we raked the deboss side. So it actually got the raised image. It didn't didn't ink up the background. So this is an example of raking the deboss side, and this is the emboss side. And here is one more. We decided to put a ribbon around this card. You just open it up, and there you have it. Look at that. The ribbon just goes around the back. And just to give you a little tip on this one, to get this ribbon straight, if you really like things to be perfectly straight, you can get a small T ruler that's transparent. And what I did is I just lined it up on the side just like this. And I was able to put my tape runner right there and line it up perfectly straight. This is over in our Amazon store. It's just a really easy link that you can go and get this on Amazon. I think it costs like $9. Maybe you get 2. It really is a great tool to have. Take a moment and let us know which card you like the best. Do you like the raked embossing side where we raked it and it really showed up on the background? The debossed side, and this one right here is the embossed side, because see how it did the background and the raised image didn't have any ink on it. Love this technique, but we also love this card design. So we hope you enjoyed this Technique Tuesday and the technique of either raking on the embossed side or raking on the debossed side. It really makes a difference. Maudie and I want to wish you a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video.